I am currently 5 million blocks away from world origin, or right next to spawn if you're a sea TikToker. This is the place where Minecraft gets wildest, the Farlands is a known quantity, the world breaks and stops being comprehensible, but here the world is survivable, but just a little bit insane. Or I guess actually quite a lot insane. I'm going to show you what the Nearlands are and how when you get this far, you'll see floating woodland mansions, lava-moated villages, and exposed ancient cities, and indeed set you the survival challenge of trying to do so yourself. But before any of that, what are the Nearlands? The Nearlands is a broad term for the place that exists closer to the world origin than the Farlands. In Bedrock, the Farlands are entirely unreachable on foot and also do not have their classic Java appearance, the one referenced in Minecraft story mode, but instead the terrain just starts missing blocks. Despite this, after 16 million blocks all the way out to 30 million or 2.1 billion, depending on how much you're willing to break Minecraft, is generally considered to be the Farlands. And so what are the Nearlands? Well, after the world becomes unreachable after 8 million, because you literally fall through the ground, even in creative mode, you will get an early version of Spectator, I guess, but if you want to see the Nearlands, it's everything between when the world starts to break and 8 million blocks. In general, the world is always breaking in Bedrock the further you get from world origin, but it starts to become more and more noticeable after 100,000. We're only at 1/64th the distance that will cause you to fall through the world, but you can already see that things are just a bit jittery, and just in case you can't and you think it's almost made up or weird camera movements, let's go into crouch mode and let's really see it. Can you see how the world just isn't moving in the correct way right now? That is because when you are crouched, you'll notice things a lot more. However, add another 131,000 blocks, or indeed double the coordinates in other words, and now everything gets distinctly shaky in a way that you can clearly tell even while walking. I'd say it's like shivering when you're cold here, like, ugh, I'm so cold, I just can't see things straight, and it's very, very strange, but it does get stranger because with another doubling, you'll notice that it's actively hard to walk in some directions. If I try to go this way, you can see that I'm being fully pushed to the side because there's actual resistance of the game trying to not let me be in a certain place. After another doubling, you can see that fish start to get caught by this exact same thing. They're trying to swim, but they are just finding it a bit too difficult. Dolphins are just about able to make it through, and indeed, some of these fish are working just fine. Also, for some reason, you can see perfectly underwater. I wonder if that's related. Another doubling yet makes Minecraft feel very retro. You can't just start moving in a direction, you have to keep walking till you get to the necessary velocity, meaning it's kind of stop-start in a very, very, very strange way that technically works diagonal, but also it doesn't really want to. It leads to weird things if you're trying to jump up and over blocks like this. You jump and then somewhere in the middle of the air, you start going close enough to it. It makes it a real pain to do anything in survival at walking pace, but you still can just about walk here, although you're much better off flying. Add one final doubling and you get as broken as you can be in the Nearlands. From here all the way to about 8 million blocks when you start falling through the world, things are at their most broken, and to prove that point, let's break some grass blocks right here. As you can see, very, very strange, and then let's replace them with some fences. So you might think that I'm placing fences wrong here, but no, this is actually just how fences look at this point. As you can see, this is very much the fence we should all love and expect, and even weirder is what happens if you try to get inside those fences. We have to walk distinctly this way, try and like sprint it, I guess, and then, oh god, I think flying is the realistic possibility of getting around here. But if we get inside of the fences, you can see that it stops actually being a fence as well as not looking like a fence, which I think is pretty fun, right? Oh yeah, also the third-person camera gets confusingly broken at this point in something that looks like a 90s music video, but I swear is actually just how things break. And so from here to the edge of the world are where things are most broken. But what is broken? Well, let's give you a short list. So outside of your movement and camera being broken, what else changes in the Nearlands? Well, first things first, this affects the movement and indeed the camera for every other mob in the game. When mobs spawn, they get stuck in the coordinates they're in and they'll stay there pretty much no matter what. This gets quite confusing if I walk over towards him. It will take me a little bit to do. You'll see something fun, which is that even when you punch him, he is still stuck in that same space, sometimes glitching around to neighboring blocks. Also, you might be able to tell, but these sunflowers are a bit broken because anything that has weird in a model geometry, the precision, because Minecraft Bedrock uses a 32-bit game engine, the precision starts to get a bit more broken out here to the point where it starts and stops being, you know, transparent or not. There's some weird Z-fighting going on, but even blocks like, you know, like walls, for example, they become blocks now. Do you want to have a wall that is tall but also basically works like a block? That is something that you can do out here. Also, bamboo looks like it's entirely fine till it grows up and then it becomes 2D bamboo. Is this something you need in your life? I don't know, but it's fun regardless. Also, something fun we can do is we can grow stuff like sugarcane out here, and you'll notice that, okay, let's just try and get closer. You'll notice that sugarcane is entirely fine despite being grown in effectively the same way. The list of blocks that do and don't work is kind of inconsistent. Why is a grindstone looking like this, for example? Why does a brewing stand miss only one of its legs? I feel like you could talk forever about how Z-fighting works and what exactly is happening here, but I personally just love that you can do weird things you probably wouldn't be able to do anywhere else in the game. And one of my favorite ones is paintings. I only learned about this one recently, but if you want to place paintings at this point in the world, you can place them, and you can place multiple ones per block sometimes. It's very, very weird and confusing that works, but as you can see, I can just keep placing paintings and overwriting previous ones on the same blocks, because again, at different angles, different ones are visible, which is very confusing if you ask me. Oh, and I've now got a painting hanging over nothing. This is entirely okay. Oh, okay, yep, this is fine. Nothing is broken, don't question it. Just like how you probably shouldn't also question the fact that once you reach this point, the entire set of mountain biomes from 1.18, the Caves and Cliffs update, don't generate. Instead, what generates, or rather, I guess, maybe they are generating, but they're generating with negative terrain, because instead you get lava, which is the base of the world, to stop you seeing pure bedrock down there. For real, this is a giant pit that goes straight from a cherry grove biome all the way down into the bottom of the world, and if there wasn't lava here, as I can briefly show you, then there would be lava right where it sits instead. This is one of the strangest phenomenons in Minecraft, that instead of generating no terrain, it generates lava above bedrock, but effectively this would be a null biome if it weren't for Minecraft Bedrock's handy dandy hiding of it using lava. This is something that has existed since 1.18, and based on the fact that it's been almost 3 years, is unlikely to be fixed, and this is the source of where many things go wrong in terms of weird seed and terrain generation, because basically, also wow, we actually find, as it turns out, the generation of ancient cities isn't affected. They still try to generate where the mountain would be, and so you're very likely to find an ancient city that is partially or fully exposed due to these giant holes that are left. Actually, you know, I'm curious. Every time I see these, I want to come right out to the Nearlands to do my thing and try and overcome it. However, it actually is near impossible to actually do that, because again, you'll get trapped very quickly by some random blocks, and yeah, I'm gonna try and get off the edge here. Okay, can I do it? Can I do it? Can I do it? No, I can't do it. It's very hard to do effectively anything, and you will probably die triggering a skulk sensor and then being stuck in your block. Although actually, maybe the warden wouldn't be able to trigger because he would be stuck in one block too. You know, actually, I need to test this. So hello everyone, and welcome to my very bad idea today, which is basically trying to find out, is it a good idea to fight the warden, but 6 million blocks away from spawn? Probably not, but we'll have to do it just to find out, right? Okay, I hear him, but I don't see him. Where are you? Okay, there he is. Okay, so that is bad news for me, but I'm thinking, oh, he can walk, he can walk. Okay, this is bad, this is bad. He's not coming towards me though. I guess he just doesn't know about that gap. Yeah, this is great news. Oh no, it's not. This is bad news. Oh, okay. You've got to stay far enough away to not get sonic blasted. That's it's a good rule for life, but an especially good rule down here. Okay, yes. Okay, he's gone up the stairs, but look at that. He's not going to be able to get over here. Yeah, wow. Okay, you can use Minecraft's own weird rules about how things generate further away from spawn against it. If you're curious as to why these errors get worse and worse, the simple explanation is floating point errors, and the longer explanation is we programmed computers to be very bad, or very efficient in most ways, but it makes them very bad at handling precise numbers when they get very, very, very large, because we usually use the floating point is meant to be to the left to allow extreme precision past the decimal point, but when numbers get very big, you have less and less precision past it, to the point where this is a valid thing you can do. Also, I've shot over 40 arrows at him, and he is still not dead yet. Can you kill the warden with just a bow? The answer sure seems to be no. Okay, this is my... Oh, okay, 61 arrows, but we just killed the warden in pure base survival with no armor, no gear, no nothing. And so where is my Sculpt Catalyst? I could really do it with— oh no, not again. This missing terrain generation is what allows you to have woodland mansions which are generated over nothing. When they were doing the report on their foundation work, when they were trying to get planning permission from their local council to build a giant mansion in the middle of a forest, they made the assumption there would be a mountain biome here because everything else in the game code points to there being a mountain biome, but then at the last minute, something about that extreme floating point imprecision causes them not to generate. Exactly what it is has yet to be truly documented, as best I can tell, let alone truly fixed. However, it means that a woodland mansion tries to generate, and what they always do is they generate on the lowest possible non-negative terrain, and it does precisely that, and that leaves you with a very high floating woodland mansion, which then has a lush cave underneath it, which is very, very bizarre, and can only happen because there's just a missing biome in a way that they would never accept anywhere closer to spawn, which really brings up the bigger question of like, well, the Nearlands are cool, but how do I actually get there? Getting to the Nearlands is going to take some serious work, and not work like a seed TikToker does, which is turning on RTX and pretending that, you know, this is actually right next to spawn if you just believe in yourself, but instead the type of work that involves going at 4.3 meters a second when walking, or 5.6 when running, for 4 million blocks. And to save you the calculations, you're not going to make it there that way, so you're going to need some form of boost. What boost could help you? Well, if you equip an Elytra and start flying, then you will be able to travel at 33.5 meters a second if you continuously boost the entire way. This is how most late game survival players traverse their world, and if you want to go all the way to the Nearlands going at 33.5 meters a second, this will take you 119,402 seconds. And now if we assume there are 3,600 seconds in an hour, which I think is a very fair assumption if you live in a linear version of time like I do, then that means that yes, we will have to travel for 33 hours, a little bit more, a little bit less, depending on how it takes us, to get to the Nearlands. That's on top of taking an ungodly number of fireworks, so many in fact that if you were going to do it this way, you'd be much better off just picking a portal near your base and going via the Nether instead. Yep, this was very much my intentional first portal design. I've nailed it, thank you for mentioning. In the Nether, coordinates are scaled down by 8, meaning you can travel 8 times as far using the same number of blocks, meaning all I have to do is go for a bit of a fly, and effectively my speed is times by 8. Oh, look how beautiful it is here, without that Nether fog on, by the way. But yeah, that's all you've got to do if you want to experience that. If you want to travel as fast as possible, doing so in the Nether means that even if you took a downgrade to your flying time, you would still get there much faster. Your time of 33 hours can be cut down to as little as 4 if you find a good path, and maybe a bit more if you don't. I have flown through the Nether many a time, and let me tell you, it's harder than it seems always, because the Nether is literally using cave generation from the overworld, just in reverse. Where the air in a cave would be is where you'll find Netherrack, and where the stone in a cave would be is where you find this, and we all know that caves are very unpredictable, leading to strange detours you're going to be making constantly. However, commit to just this for a few more hours and try not to die on the way. And you'll find that even though the Nether itself seems pretty okay, if you are to go through the Nether portal, because of coordinate scaling, you'll go all the way from being in a slightly broken world, you know, only layer 3 of the Nearlands, all the way out to 4 million, and the most broken version of it you can enjoy. And assuming you have any fireworks left, you're going to need them to realistically get around this point, but it is very, very interesting that you could do that in much less time. However, let's be honest, you don't want to waste all the fireworks every single time. For a repeatable way to get out to the far lands, you'd be better off making a blue ice pathway. If you could make a blue ice pathway for the entire journey, then you would be able to increase your speed from 33.5 at peak, although slightly less than the Nether, to 72.73 meters per second in a blue ice boat. This means that you'd be able to do that same journey in a much faster time for, indeed, it was 6,874.742 seconds, and you would be able to travel a 500,000 blocks that way, and all you'd have to do would be hit forwards on the boat and then maybe go and forget things. This is the fastest realistic path out to the Nearlands, and if you really had to come here regularly, this would be the way to do it. However, it would come with costs. One of those costs is in the blue ice blocks. Where are you going to find 500,000 of them? Well, it's a fun question you might have an answer to, and then you're going to need to spend time placing it. If you can place at an above average 1.5 blocks per second, ignoring having to mine through structures, etc., because this has to be perfectly flat, then you would be able to place this in just over 100 hours, ignoring the mining time, ignoring the chest sorting time, and the dealing with your inventory. But 100 hours is what it would take you to get a pathway, which would take you 2 hours every single time to get out to the Nearlands in the overworld. And just in case you're curious, because I know I am, what about the Nearlands and the Nether? Well, times that by 8, it would take you 800 hours, and it would take you 16 hours each time. But what would it look like? I don't know. Let's find out. All of the structures here work just fine. That is a Bastion Remnant, and that is a Nether Fortress. And so indeed, if you wanted to come out to the Nearlands and the Nether, it would solely be as a flex, and also because you want to see what a broken Nether Fortress looks like. This is fun if you've never seen one before, by the way. The windows look almost normal. You would be forgiven for thinking that's how they normally look, but it's not. And indeed, any other place that uses these temporary weird blocks, they also get just a little bit strange, I would say. You can't pick block them. I'm doing my very best. I can't break the blocks. Indeed, there are fences there that have no breakable hitbox that I can easily find, and you can walk right through them if you want to, or fly right through them, because you can be an invisible man. Also, yeah, around the blaze spawners, I would say, it's also pretty weird. I guess, I'm gonna guess that the blaze spawners work, though. And so if you're in survival, you wanna have a fight with a blaze, can you do it? The answer is yes, and blazes have an interesting ability. Oh god, is he on the wrong side of the fence or the right side? We'll find out when we dive from the blaze survival. So yeah, if you want to be attacked on the other side of fences, come to the Nether Farlands. Otherwise, I don't know that I'm recommending it. By the way, I realize it's actually the RTX pack that I've been using that causes me to have insane render distances like this, which is really fun. If you want to see what it looks like with the RTX turned on, it's like this. It's very dark. The Nether isn't really somewhere you should go with RTX turned on. For completeness sake, I had to travel to the End Farlands too to let you know that these are perfectly normal. If you call these fruit perfectly normal, that is. Again, in the End and the Nether, there is no special benefit like there is with the Farlands, and so if you're going to the Nearlands, it's probably best done in the overworld. However, for one last piece of convincing, why shouldn't you come here? Fundamentally, the Nearlands only exist because of a bug in the Minecraft game engine, and it's a very fundamental bug that would be very hard to fix. It's a very fundamental bug with other bugs built on top of it, but it is still something that officially has to be fixed by some Mojang programmers at some point in the future. And that is a crucial thing to mention because on this channel, I take a very different approach to bugs than many others, which is to be somewhat conservative with it. It is to say that any bug that exists in the game right now is fun and worth knowing about, but might be patched out in the future. Mojang has a very, very big list, and realistically, it might take them years or decades to get around to this, if it ever fixes it all, but should you spend 100 hours of your time working on something that might be patched out, that is something you have to set your own risk tolerance for. Indeed, even when it comes to Superflat, Mojang doesn't officially support the game mode, and so many bugs that appear there, they just say, yeah, it's not really our problem, that's just another bug we're going to fix at some point, which is why I made Ultraflat Survival, by the way. Ultraflat Survival recently received an update, and this newest update brings in new features, an Easter egg, and everything else you could want. You can keep your old world with all of its existing characteristics and issues, or you can upgrade to the latest update, and this is something you can do if you purchase Ultraflat Survival now. Also, anyone can play on your world when you purchase it. It is entirely free of charge to do so, and so if you and your friends are looking to start a brand new survival, and you want to do it in an interesting way with 16 biomes and all of the other toggles and choices, play the best Superflat experience possible, Ultraflat Survival available on the Bedrock Marketplace right now. If you want to support the channel, it's a great way to do so in time for the holiday. Speaking of supporting things, I think I would support anyone who wants to go on an insane project to come out here, while also acknowledging that realistically the terrain is so broken in a way that you are committing to breaking your world to see another broken part of your world. When I traveled 1 million blocks in my survival world, I ballooned the size from a couple hundred megabytes to a gigabyte, and it has caused me issues ever since. So coming here is something I would recommend doing in the safety of creative. Use this seed if you want to, use any seed if you want to, and look around and see some of the weirdest things in Minecraft. And indeed, I think the most fun way to do this is to start a brand new world, which is why I want to do a challenge of trying to survive out in the Nearlands, maybe a slightly nearer part of it, but I think it'd be fun to see what you could do in a world where everything is hostile towards you, and so that is something you can see coming soon on this channel. I will regret doing it, but you better believe it's going to be a lot of fun anyway, and And yeah, can you even find an end portal out here? I don't know the answers to any of these questions, and we'll be finding them all out together, I guess right now, but then also in that live stream. Wow, really close by. I've just gotta, I don't have to head very far at all. Looks like I've got a stronghold sorted. Speaking of things I've got sorted, this video, I hope you've enjoyed it, because I'll see you in the next one. Hope you enjoyed the slightly tighter format. Goodbye.